The U.S. has withdrawn from the United Nations Human Rights Council, accusing it of a chronic bias against Israel. Standing with the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Haley slammed Russia, China, Cuba and Egypt for thwarting U.S. efforts to reform the Council. This is the latest U.S. rejection of multilateral engagement after it pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement and the Iran nuclear deal. Mexico's foreign minister described the separation of children from immigrant parents at the U.S.-Mexico border as cruel and inhuman, urging the United States to reconsider its policy. Luis Videgaray said that the Mexican government has made its position on the matter clear to the U.S. government and had also raised the issue with senior UN officials, including UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Decrying internment camps, Democrats and their supporters disrupted a high-profile U.S. congressional hearing with a dramatic protest against the Trump administration's policy of detaining immigrant children separated from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border. The top Democrat on the House of Representatives Judiciary Committee, Gerald Nadler, broke from traditional protocol and started reading from a statement saying these children are not animals. His Republican colleagues tried to shout over him, calling it out of order. Meanwhile, civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton called the policy bigoted and insensitive and accused the President Donald Trump of playing hardball with the lives of immigrant children. Protests against the Trump administration's handling of non-documented families entering the southern U.S. border took place in Texas and Washington state as the drumbeat of opposition to family separations grew. Some 1,000 border residents from New Mexico and West Texas were expected to gather in the Texas city of El Paso to march against the family separations and to demand immigration rights. A smaller protest also took place in Seattle, one day after U.S. Representative Pramila Jayapal, a Democrat born in India, who represents Seattle residents in Congress, announced a mass mobilization to end the family separations. The Vatican envoy, who was sent to Chile to gather evidence of sex abuse in the Roman Catholic Church, said it would be up to the Pope Francis to decide on whether to release the report of their findings to the country's civil authorities. During a visit in February, Archbishop Charles Cicluna of Malta, the Vatican's top sex abuse investigator, conducted interviews with victims to compile a 2,300-page report, which he handed to the Pope. It accused Chile's bishops of grave negligence in handling allegations that children had been abused and said evidence of sex crimes had been destroyed. Chancellor Angela Merkel rebuffed U.S. President Donald Trump's assertion that migrants were behind a surge in crime in Germany, pointing to statistics that showed crime was in fact down. Statistics published last month showed that overall crime fell 9.6% in Germany in 2017. U.S. President Donald Trump, who has promoted an America First policy since his day as a presidential candidate, gave a big bear hug to a large American flag during a speaking engagement in Washington. Trump had finished a speech to the National Federation of Independent Businesses, which included numerous comments on immigration and border security, when he crossed the stage and embraced the flag to applause. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Joe Hagan is set to submit his resignation. Hagan led the U.S. advance team for President Donald Trump's summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Singapore. Hagan plans to return to the private sector after entertaining a couple of jobs in other government agencies. Hagan will be stepping down on July 6th. Greece's Ministry for Migration Policy has decided to reopen 4 refugee camps to accommodate the rising number of refugees who are choosing Greece as their entry point to Europe. 3 of the 4 refugee camps that will reopen are located around Athens, the country's capital, while the 4th camp is located near Volvi Lake, around 40 kilometers east of Thessaloniki, which is the country's 2nd largest city. About 60 small tents have been set up in the refugee camp near Volvi Lake. The camp is estimated to take in 400 refugees. Rockford in Illinois is expected to get more rain after flash floods on Monday night when storms dumped as much as 5 inches of rain in less than 4 hours. Videos uploaded to social media showed submerged cars, people being rescued and severe flooded roads. According to local media, there were no reports of injury or major damage. Hot, humid weather is expected to bring thunderstorms and a risk of flash floods from Texas to the southeastern United States. At least 18 people were killed in flooding in Ivory Coast commercial capital Abidjan after intense rainfall overnight. A rushing flood of brown water struck the tropical lagoon-side city of about 5 million people in the early hours, carrying away cars, destroying homes and leaving hundreds stranded. Britain's Prince William joked that a handshake from a robotic hand was a little bit weak as he tested out items on display at Liverpool's International Business Festival. The royal, who is used to handshakes and pleasantries, was greeted at the festival with the robotic hand that was made by a 3D printer. William also had a sit-down inside a driverless pod as he toured the event in the exhibition centre, which showcases British and international innovation. Yemeni fighters, backed by the Arab coalition seeking to wrest control of Hodeidah, fired weapons near the city's airport as the coalition gained new ground and the UN's envoy left Yemen after a 3-day visit. A Yemeni military source says Arab coalition troops had captured large areas of the airport compound on Tuesday in battles with Iran-aligned Houthis. Newlyweds Prince Harry and Meghan attended the Royal Ascot prestigious horse race meeting exactly 1 month after their dazzling wedding ceremony in Windsor. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex arrived by a horse-drawn carriage as they waved to cheering crowds at the annual meeting alongside other members of the royal family, including Harry's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth. For centuries, the Ascot race meeting has been one of Britain's premier social occasions, patronised by royalty and attended by the high society. British police said a small number of people were receiving medical treatment after what they described as a minor explosion at an underground station in North London. They said there was no immediate indication that the incident was linked to terrorism. Police said they had been called to reports of an explosion and people running at Southgate station at 7:03 p.m. local time. Police closed the station, advised people to avoid the area and said officers were dealing with a suspicious package. European Commission President sharply criticized US President Donald Trump, saying he does not govern Europe, and accused him of massive meddling in German politics. Junkner's comments come a day after Trump said in a tweet that the people of Germany were turning against their leadership because of loose migration policies. The EU Commission President told reporters that it was not the American president's job to speculate that the German population will be marching on the Chancellery to replace Mrs. Merkel. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Kim's 2-day trip to China comes 1 week after his landmark summit meeting in Singapore with President Trump. The North Korean leader is believed to have briefed the Chinese president on the outcomes of the June 12th summit in Singapore. This is Kim's third visit to the North Korea's major ally this year. Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani is reaching out to the Taliban once again. Ghani has requested for extension of the ceasefire and said that he is willing to talk to the Taliban without preconditions and is ready to discuss the withdrawal of foreign troops. Ghani met the Helmand Peace marchers outside the palace in Kabul and thanked them for their courage and commitment to peace. He urged them to go a step further and find the Taliban leaders. The UAE army has tabled what it calls fresh evidence showing Iran's hand in supplying arms to the rebels. Iranian-made anti-tank missiles, unmanned aerial vehicles, sniper rifles, landmines and other advanced weaponry used by the Houthis against the Arab coalition in Yemen were presented during a press briefing in Abu Dhabi, saying it proves that Iran is fighting a proxy war. Italy's Osteria Francescana took the top spot at the world's 50 Best Restaurants award ceremony on Tuesday, garnering praise for playful use of local ingredients in dishes, including 5 ages of Parmigiano Reggiano. It was the second time in 3 years the restaurant, which serves up modern Italian fare in Modena in Italy's northern gastronomic heartland, has headed the list, entries on which are now as coveted as Michelin stars. Amazon says that it has partnered with Marriott International to help increase guest access to amenities with Alexa through its voice control device Echo in an attempt to expand its presence in the hospitality industry. Alexa for Hospitality would assist in providing services ranging from ordering room service to requesting housekeeping or calling the concierge for dinner recommendations without picking up the phone. Farmers in Western India's Navsari city took to the streets and staged a protest against the notification issued by the federal government about acquiring land for the bullet train project between Ahmedabad in western Gujarat state and Mumbai. The protests have flared up in recent months against attempts to secure sections of 108-kilometer stretch, which is around 1/5 of the entire bullet train corridor connecting Mumbai with Ahmedabad. India repatriated 6 Pakistani prisoners through the Atari-Wagah border. In October 2017, India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj had suggested to the Pakistan High Commissioner that the two sides could progress on humanitarian issues related to elderly women, children and mentally unsound prisoners. Citing worsening security situation in the state, the BJP pulled out of the 3-year-long alliance with PDP, leading to the fall of the Jammu and Kashmir government. The differences between the BJP and the PDP cropped up following the government's decision to resume anti-terror operations in the state, which was suspended during Ramadan. The governor's rule in the state is imminent, with NN Bora likely to take charge. US President Donald Trump welcomed King Philippe IV and Queen Letizia of Spain to the White House on Tuesday. The Spanish king thanked the president for his hospitality and called the visit to the White House a great end to the royals' trip to the US. The couple spent time in Texas and Louisiana before coming to Washington. Host Russia are all but through to the knockout stage after registering their second successive group stage win on Tuesday. Russia cruised to a 3-1 win over Egypt at St. Petersburg, with Denis Cheryshev and Artem Dzyuba adding to an own goal from Ahmed Fadi. Egypt's first goal at the World Cup since 1990 came through a Mohamed Saleh penalty that proved to be just a consolation. Earlier in the day, Japan became the first Asian team to defeat a South American nation at the World Cup after edging Colombia 2-1. Jose Pekerman's side played nearly whole of the match with 10 men after Carlos Sanchez was sent off for blocking a goal-bound effort. Despite equalizing through Juan Quintero, Colombia were undone by goals from Shinji Kagawa and Yuba Osaka. Uruguay are one win away from entering the knockout stages as the two-time champions take on Saudi Arabia in the second match of the tournament. Oscar Tabarez's side claimed a late win over Egypt in their Group A opener on Friday. Victory for Uruguay at Rostov will not only take them to the knockout stages but will also seal Russia's place in the last 16. In the early kickoff on Wednesday, Portugal looking to boost their hopes of qualifying for the knockout stage with their first win of the campaign. Cristiano Ronaldo's sensational hat-trick helped Fernando Santos' side hold their Iberian rivals Spain to a 3-3 draw in the Group B opener last Friday. Morocco, on the other hand, went down to a late own goal against Iran in the opening clash, and they must avoid a defeat if they are to retain any chance of progressing from the group. In Wednesday's light action, Spain will avoid their host from the 2014 edition when they take on Iran with the second match of the tournament. Iran currently top Group B with 3 points after their last gasp victory over Morocco. Spain are level on points with Portugal after the first round of matches. Any result barring a win could put the 2010 champions on the brink of an early exit yet again. Talking about his battle with neuroendocrine tumor, a rare form of cancer, during his treatment in London, Bollywood actor Irfan Khan said the entire cosmos becomes one at that moment. Just pain, and pain felt more enormous than God. American rapper JINPING, also known as Triple Extension, passed away aged 20 after he was shot on Monday in Miami, USA. A gunman reportedly shot him while he was at a motorcycle dealership. The artist was dubbed as rap's most controversial man by a magazine, had previously faced arrests and was involved in feuds with several other artists.
If I'm going to die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy, or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life, regardless of the negative around my name, regardless of the bad things people say to me. Because I know my goal in the end and I know what I want.
Slamming rumors of his previous relationship with the supermodel Gigi Hadid being called an opportunistic setup by their respective management, pop singer Zayn Malik said, and I quote, "If a relationship is for your career, you can walk out the door." Malik further added that Hadid taught him to look at things in a positive manner.